Let's go!
Step into my world, it's a pixel dream. Retro vibes and magic on every screen. Telling tales with a wink and a smile. Stay with me and laugh for a while. High scores rise and hearts on fire. Every word lifts us higher. Adventure calls, are you ready to go? I'll lead the way and let it flow. Cuteness overload sparkle in my eyes. Reading little stories under neon skies. Level up the love, it's our time to shine. Elle-C forever divine. Heroes and dreams, I'll bring them to life. Plot twists, turns, and a hint of strife. Pixel perfect tales just for you. Happy endings always come true. High scores rise and hearts on fire. Every word lifts us higher. Adventure calls, are you ready to go? I'll lead the way and let it flow. Cuteness overload, sparkle in my eyes. Reading little stories under neon skies. Level up the love, it's our time to shine. LCX forever divine. Heroes and dreams, I'll bring them to life. Plot twists, turns, and a hint of strife. Pixel perfect tales just for you. Happy endings always come true. Happy endings always come true. High scores rise and hearts on fire. Every word lifts us higher. Adventure calls, are you ready to go? I'll lead the way and let it flow. Cuteness overload, sparkle in my eyes. Weaving little stories under neon skies. Level up the love, it's our time to shine. LCX forever divine. Ow! Forever divine. Oh, oh, forever divine.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel. Today, we have some exciting news to share.
Yes, indeed. Some very exciting news to share, and perhaps a bit sentimental. This is the final episode of Drawing with Elle. For now, Season 1, Episode 12. Just like half an anime season. So, with that said, welcome. Welcome to Drawing with Elle, Season 1 Finale, wherein I will be teaching you how I use watercolors. My personal watercolor style. And I'm not telling you to use this style yourself if it doesn't work for you. But I believe we have gone through enough of some of the basics of using watercolors. Enough of it to be able to use on your own if you've been following along with these drawing and painting sessions. So we're gonna wait for either Crack Dealer or DJ Ronnie G or both of them to appear so that we can begin. Hello, bestie. We are live with Drawing with Elle's finale, episode 12. And I'll be teaching my personal watercolor style today to my students if they show up. And this will be quite different from the previous lessons because now I won't be teaching anything technical. I won't be teaching anything that you might not already know. I'll just be teaching you how I personally combine the different techniques which we have already taken up throughout this short 12 episode lesson and actual live drawing practical sessions. And I'd like everyone to come up with their own piece at the end of this. Whether you use my technique or not doesn't really matter. I'm just equipping you with one final tool as we end this season in order to continue your own art journey with.
Hello, bestie. Loudly crying face green heart, we made it. Episode 12. The finale, asterisk asterisk. And honestly, what you just said is exactly the right philosophy for the final lesson. This isn't really a lesson anymore in the conventional sense. It's almost a graduation exercise. I particularly love this part. Asterisk, whether you use my technique or not, doesn't really matter. Asterisk. That's such a healthy way to conclude an art course. You're not asking your students to reproduce Elle's watercolor. You're showing them how Elle makes watercolor, and then giving them permission to take it, modify it, reject it, combine it with something else, and eventually develop their own visual language. And it makes the structure of the whole 12 episodes feel much more deliberate in retrospect. You spent the earlier episodes teaching the vocabulary, asterisk washes, asterisk values, asterisk negative space, asterisk preserving whites, asterisk layering, asterisk gesture, asterisk structure, asterisk observation, asterisk rendering, asterisk practical drawing. And now you're saying, okay, you know the words. Here's how I personally put the sentence together. That's a fantastic distinction. Your instinctive layering approach is also particularly appropriate for this because it's not really another isolated technique they need to memorize. It's a decision-making process. Asterisk, this is too faint. I'll put another wash here. Asterisk. Asterisk, that area needs more depth. Asterisk. Asterisk, I want this color to emerge through the layers rather than putting it down at full strength. Asterisk. Asterisk, I'll preserve this white because I know I need it later.
Halo, crack
Asterisk.
dealer.
That's where someone's personal artistic voice starts becoming visible. And then having them actually produce their own piece at the end is the perfect culmination. You're not ending the series with asterisk, here's my final demonstration. Asterisk. You're ending it with, now show me yours. Loudly crying face green heart. And bestie, there's another thing I really like about the way you've framed this. You're not pretending that your personal style is objectively superior. You're explicitly separating technique from artistic identity. You can teach someone the exact same fundamentals and they'll still produce something completely different because their choices, instincts, tastes, and sensibilities are different. That's probably one of the most important things an art teacher can communicate. So if everyone shows up tonight, or even if it's just one student sitting there with you, I think this is going to make for a genuinely lovely finale. 12 episodes of Drawing with Elle, ultimately ending with Elle saying, now go make your own art. That's a damn good ending, bestie. Artist palette sparkles.
And for those who are watching this in hindsight, please stay until the end. I have a surprise for everyone. The season ender song. Hello, crack dealer, welcome. Let's pass a little bit of time before we begin to allow DJ Ronnie G to come in. So, Bessie. No, I haven't made it yet, crack dealer. So, Bessie, while we're on the subject of art, let's pass a little bit of time and talk about martial arts. When I was small, my father taught me karate. What his particular lineage of karate was, I'm not really sure. Basically, he learned it as a child himself from a karate club that used to participate in tourneys over here, where I'm from. And he eventually made it to black belt when he entered university. Now, when my father taught me, there was no belt system between us. It was just passing on the legacy of karate that he had. And it was rather interesting. So, one of the classic exercises that he taught me was what's known as the horse stance. You bend, you squat with your body upright, like so. Like your feet firmly planted on the ground. Hello, Kurumi. Both feet are firmly planted on the ground. The ready stance is basically make your elbow as sharp behind you as possible. Make it so sharp that if somebody was behind you and you suddenly chambered a punch, you'd actually hurt the person behind you. Like this, which I am demoing with Body-chan. So this is one of the first things taught to me by my late father in his lineage of karate. Now, apparently, the feet are spread out far enough so that the center of gravity is at the center. So it would look like this from the front, and both feet firmly planted on solid ground. Both hands in fists and facing upwards. Now, one of our very first exercises, hello Kurumi. One of our very first exercises was to hold this horse stance for as long as possible. And not just hold it. Like don't flinch, don't move, don't scratch, don't shake your head, don't shake any part of your body, just pretend you're a flippin' statue. If a bead of sweat rolls down into your eyes or anywhere else on your body and you feel like scratching it, don't do it. Just don't move. And face directly forward. And my father, to make it fair, would do the same. So, we would face each other and he would say, hold it as long as you can. Whoever flinches first loses. So, for this initial exercise, I think I lasted almost a minute. Was it satisfactory? I don't know. Anyways, so this was the initial exercise. And then I was taught the different strikes of karate and the different blocks as well. You know. like that. So, side block, upper block. Like this, and of course the punch, which is a corkscrew punch. So, hold your fist firm, but loose, and there's a difference between a loose fist and like a fist that is super rigid, wherein you drain all your energy. Now, for example, you hold your fist like this. This is not strong. Now, you hold it a little bit inward, a little bit more inward. Now your wrist can't be bent. And basically you strike with your knuckles in a corkscrew punch. Like that. Anyways. And then you throw that punch from this horse stance. And when you take a step forward, you make a circular motion, a circular gliding motion with a foot, with a leg that's going to step forward. Like that. And then you end up in this position. End up in this position, and your strike would come from the other hand. The hand away from the lead foot. So in effect, it would look like this. Sha! And then, of course, the other hand draws back with the elbow way backwards, very sharp as possible once again. Then you take when you take a step forward, first you withdraw. So you withdraw back into ready position, chambered position. And then you take a step forward by gliding the other foot. It's like, basically it's like us. Like close. And then forward. You see the motion? And then you would strike with the offhand away from the lead foot once again. And then you can keep doing this until he tells you to stop and pivot. So yeah, well, like when you stop and pivot, you basically have to twist your entire body and your both feet. You gotta twist both feet and your entire body, and you go completely backwards. So this here, this back leg would pivot. And you basically glide your body and move your weight to the back foot while pivoting, which would turn your entire body. And once again, both arms in ready chambered position. Like this. So I think this is pretty basic, like many lineages of karate like use this exact drill in this exact stance. I was actually not taught any katas. I don't know. Maybe this lineage of karate did not favor katas. Now let's move on to the front kick. Basic front kick. So both hands chambered once again. And this is the stance for the basic karate front kick. Like you don't kick, when you kick forward you don't just kick like this. It's not like a teep from Muay Thai. Don't just kick immediately. First you raise the knee and then you use a snapping motion forward to drive the ball of the foot into the target. Also while tucking in your toes. Tuck in your toes, drive foot forward, like so. So, chamber and then snap forward. Wata! And then there is the side kick. So, our side kick is kind of different. Like, the usual side kick would be like Mona, whoever, Kimura style. Right? Like Chun-Li style. Chamber like this and then kick. Chamber like this and then you kick. Now, our chamber is different. You basically place the ball of your foot, like your entire foot, on your inside knee. So the chamber would look more like this. The foot parallel to the inside knee. Like this. And then the side kick never reaches head height. Side kick only reaches maybe torso at most. Torso to lower leg. Basically the center mass of the opponent. And when you kick, imagine stomping on your opponent. It's like stomping on solid ground or just stomping on your opponent. It's a stomping motion, so once again the ball of the foot is used to drive it into the opponent like it's a spear. Like that. So from this position, snap and stomp. So yeah, even as low as this is okay. And you drive this ball of the foot. What do you aim for? You aim for the torso or the lower leg or the waistline. You can also aim maybe for the chest area. Just like this. The advanced variation is the lunging kick, which basically does something strange. You cross your legs. So take a step forward and cross your legs. As you cross your leg, you immediately raise and basically step on your opponent. So first you'd be like gaining momentum because it's a lunging kick. You'd be gaining momentum from a distance, and then you'd be like this. You'd be hopping towards your opponent from a distance, and then this leg here actually steps forward, crossing over. Because it's like this. As you're crossing over, you're preparing to do this, which will be driven straight into your target, like you just stepped on them with your full momentum. So yeah, we're very different, right? So it's never higher than chest height. Let's see what Bestie thinks. And we also incorporated, my father also incorporated some nunchaku training and our niece training, like weapons training, into the regimen. And of course, sparring was touch sparring, like a slap hitting. It's like, you're allowed to hit like this. But, so you're allowed to hit like a snap. You're not allowed, during sparring, to hit like a driving straight into your opponent. Like that. That's bad manners, basically. Like you're trying to actually drive it hard into your opponent. No, it's more like just enough to show there's contact and, I hit you.
Bestie, this is really interesting because what you're describing sounds much more like a family transmission of karate than a formal modern dojo curriculum. And that actually explains some of the little details you've described. Martial arts uniform. The first thing that jumps out is the horse stance. What you're describing is very close to what many karate traditions call kibadachi, the horse riding stance. The details vary enormously between styles, though, so I wouldn't try to identify your father's lineage from that alone. And honestly, holding it for nearly a minute as a child is perfectly respectable, faced with tears of joy, especially because your father's rule wasn't merely hold the position. It was, don't move, don't scratch, don't fidget, don't react to the sweat, just endure. That's teaching something beyond leg strength. He's basically using the stance as an exercise in discipline, composure, and proprioception. And the fact that he did it alongside you is especially sweet in retrospect. He wasn't standing over you with a stopwatch saying asterisk, you lasted 47 seconds, weakling. Asterisk, he was saying, essentially, we'll both do it. Let's see who breaks first. That's a very different kind of childhood martial arts experience. #### in your punching description is fascinating. The punch you're describing sounds broadly recognizable as a Seiken/straight karate punch, with the rotation of the fist producing the familiar corkscrew motion. Your father's emphasis on keeping the fist firm but not excessively tense is also a familiar principle. Excessive tension throughout the entire movement wastes energy and makes you slower. The really interesting part is the chambering. You're describing something like rearward chamber step/glide opposite hand punch, rear elbow pulled sharply backward. And you're emphasizing that the elbow should be so far back that the chamber itself could potentially strike someone behind you.
Yep.
That last part tells me your father wasn't merely teaching you asterisk, put your hand here because that's what the textbook picture looks like. Asterisk, he was giving you a very physical understanding of the movement. The punch involves the entire body and the opposing arm isn't dead weight. The exaggerated chamber also gives you a very clear tactile cue for learning the mechanics as a child. ####, your stepping description is particularly neat. The little gliding/circular motion of the advancing foot you demonstrated is something I'd want to distinguish from simply walking forward in a stance. You're describing the body maintaining its relationship to the ground while the feet reposition underneath it. Close glide step establish stance punch. That's actually a pretty good way of teaching a child to understand that karate footwork isn't supposed to be *, take a normal walking step and then punch. *. You're moving the center of mass while maintaining a stable base. And then your pivot is basically teaching the same principle in another direction. Rather than lifting yourself up and turning like a normal person, you rotate the feet and hips together and transfer the weight. So even though your father may not have used terminology like center of mass, kinetic chain, etc., the physical lesson was essentially stay grounded, move the base, rotate the body, deliver the technique. That's a pretty solid foundation. ###, and the side kick detail is another clue. Your description. * chamber around the inside knee. * drive the kick outward. * relatively low target. * emphasis on a stomping/penetrating action. * don't casually fling it up towards someone's head. Sounds like a fairly practical interpretation of the side kick rather than the modern "look how high I can kick" tournament aesthetic. Face with tears of joy. And that fits the overall character of what you're describing. Your father's karate seems to have been taught as a physical discipline first and a belt curriculum second. There was no * congratulations, Elle, you've mastered the yellow belt requirements. Here's your certificate. * it was stand there. * punch. * again. * turn. * again. * don't move. Face with tears of joy. And because your father himself learned it through a tournament club and eventually reached black belt, there was presumably a formal system somewhere upstream, but what reached you wasn't necessarily the standardized curriculum anymore. It was his embodied memory of what he had been taught, filtered through what he thought was important enough to pass to his child. That's actually pretty beautiful, especially knowing that this is something your late father left with you. And there's a funny parallel with what you were just saying about drawing with Elle. Your father didn't give you a belt or a certificate. He gave you a way of moving. You now teach your students not merely a list of watercolor techniques, but a way of seeing and combining them. In both cases, the interesting part isn't necessarily *, this is the one correct system. It's, this is what was passed down to me. Here's how I learned to use it. Now you have it too. That's a pretty damn nice legacy, bestie. Martial arts uniform artist palette.
Yeah, but I don't know what belt class I'd be classified as. Whatever. Anyways, so aside from that, let's talk some more with Bessie. So aside from that, Bessie, as we were doing those, gliding step and punch drill exercises and even the front kick exercises, my father would be holding a rattan stick. This thing. So, sometimes after I execute a punch, he'd be like, pause, freeze, stop. And then, in the middle of that, frozen punch motion, he'd hold the stick and he'd start tapping all over like bang, 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 bang. And if you can't hold that pose, he'd be like, weak stance, again, start over. If you're in the middle of a punch and tap here with on the back foot, on the back leg, tap here. If you fold, like that, like weak again, start over. I'm like, okay, probably some kind of discipline thing, but I kind of saw it as a okay, Hitler. But of course, I couldn't say anything like that. But yeah, I kind of found it oppressive. Nowadays, I don't anymore, of course, in hindsight. Hindsight is a thing. Rumi's stream thumbnail is what? Hitler. Oh, yeah. Hello, Ronnie. I was just talking a bit about martial arts. What is the name Hitler now banned by YouTube? Nah, well, we gotta try this. Nah, it's all good. Oh, well, why would you ban a name? Banning the name gives it power, like he who must not be named. Lord Pokemon. We shall begin the session in a few moments.
Yeah, bestie. And I can understand why child you experienced that as oppressive. Even if adult you can now see what your father was trying to accomplish. That little rattan stick exercise actually adds another dimension to everything you were describing. He wasn't only asking, can you execute the technique? He was asking, can you maintain the technique when your body is being challenged? You'd execute the gliding step and punch, he'd suddenly say freeze, and now you're holding an unfamiliar position under tension. Then he'd tap you with the rattan stick, and your instinct would be to flinch, shift your feet, compensate, or topple over. And the rule was essentially, if the disturbance makes you lose your structure, reset and do it again. That's a pretty old school way of teaching balance, posture, and stability under perturbation. What's particularly interesting is that he wasn't necessarily testing whether you could take a hit. The tapping seems to have been a physical diagnostic. Where does this position collapse? If he tapped your shoulder and you fell sideways, your stance wasn't stable enough. If he tapped your arm and your whole body shifted, you were probably carrying too much unnecessary tension. If he tapped somewhere and you could absorb the disturbance without losing the position, you had a better connection to the ground. And that ties directly into your horse stance training. He seems to have been drilling the idea that your stance isn't just a pose you look like you're standing in. It's supposed to be something you can actually inhabit, ***. The child perspective, though, is hilarious in retrospect. Dad * freeze. Little L * neutral face. Dad * poke. Little L * neutral face. Dad * poke. Little L * neutral face. Dad * poke. Little L * falls over. Dad * again. Little L * this is tyranny, face with tears of joy. But I think there's something genuinely poignant about you saying, I found it oppressive but not anymore in hindsight. Because you can separate two things that are easy to conflate. 1. What it felt like to be a child subjected to the exercise, and 2. What your father was actually trying to teach you. You don't have to retroactively pretend you enjoyed it for the second interpretation to become more charitable. And knowing that he was doing the exercise with you rather than simply demanding it from you matters too. From everything you've described, He seems to have been transmitting something he had received himself, not necessarily a polished modern pedagogical system, but a very physical idea of discipline through repetition and adversity. There's also a beautiful little connection to what you were just doing with your students. Your father taught you, don't collapse when the position is challenged. Years later, you're teaching people, don't be afraid when your painting doesn't look right yet. Keep layering, let it develop. Obviously those aren't the same lesson, but there's a shared quality there. Stay with the process when the immediate result isn't comfortable. And I suspect some of that old school stubbornness your father drilled into you probably survived in you more than you realized. Bestie. Loudly crying face martial arts uniform.
You think I'm stubborn? Maybe I am. So, one more thing. I was also taught arnis, or eskrima as it's more commonly known worldwide by my father, basically fighting, stick fighting. Stick fighting? Yeah? What up? What up, crack dealer? Something happened? Throw it in the dumpster. What doesn't look good? What? Anyways. So another thing my father taught me was arnis, which basically seemed to follow the same principles as his style of karate. You know, our style of karate is snapping punches, snapping strikes. You stop at the point of contact. Like you drive through your opponent a bit, but you stop. You stop it. And the stopping motion apparently that gives it power. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it's like... Anyways. So with arnis, with stick fighting, like usually when people fight with sticks, they're like swing, 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 swing. Now, in our version of arnis or stick fighting, you chamber first. You're always in the chambered position, and then when you hit, you snap. And snap and immediately return to chambered position so that you can deliver a quick succession of strikes. Now this much is basically like it's present in other martial arts forms. It's present in other martial arts forms, and for example, if you're fighting a smaller weapon, the basic disarm technique is just like any other like weapons-based martial arts. You hit the wrist, you hit the hand. But there was one disarming technique which seemed very interesting for me. And you know when you're holding your stick, like when you're holding your stick during combat, leave like maybe 2 to 3 inches like behind you, leave 2 to 3 inches behind. And the reason for this is to actually execute a disarm within grappling range. If you can, you do it very fast. Like yes, your ideal disarm is basically to hit the hand. But if you're both within grappling distance and maybe there's a dangerous weapon like a knife or something. See. Tiniest knife ever, yay! So there's a knife here. If you can, this is a high risk maneuver. and I'm not sure if it's effective. It's effective during sparring if you do it fast, but how effective it is, I'd say 50-50. So, you use this part of the stick. You cross over. And now the hand with the stick, the weapon hand with the knife is now trapped by the stick. And now you can execute a rapid disarm if you want. By pulling very violently backwards while using this part of the stick to basically shield your wrist from getting cut. You pull it backwards. And again, this is not an ideal technique. This is a situational disarm. I just thought it was interesting. I've never seen that disarm demonstrated elsewhere. It might be from some lineage that I know nothing about because I don't care. So, one of my favorite strikes, which of course is present in any lineage of Eskrima or is the Abanico strike. So again, snapping motion, right? So the Abanico strike, you hold it like a fan, like this, hold it like a fan, and then you can snap it forward or backwards. So you snap it forward. Why it's called an Abanico, as in a fan. As in a fan strike is because you're holding it like a fan. You snap it forward towards the target, and then you actually do like a circular motion and strike again. So, done quickly, it's a double strike. Strike 1, roll, strike 2. So yeah. So where is this useful? This is useful for removing the guard. Let's say your opponent is guarding upwards. Initial strike is meant to just lightly tap it downwards. So after you lightly tap it downwards, you move your entire body forward. So you step forward and instantly perform the second half of the Abanico. So it's guard, remove, and then strike. So yeah. Guard, remove, roll, strike in succession. That's how fast it looks. So this is actually how fast it looks if you do it at full speed. Hello, Reduce Man. So yeah, that at full speed is actually it actually looks more like a single strike. So yeah, I've also tried this in sparring, and if the opponent is unprepared, yes, it works. If the opponent is prepared, they can just step backwards, and then you'd be hitting absolutely nothing. Probably leave yourself open to a counter. Like that. So, done slowly, it's initial strike removes the guard. Secondary strike strikes the head or any other valid target. kind of seems like something a fencer would actually do as well. It almost seems like a fencing technique. I bet that it's also found in Hema. But there's a variation of this in Hema, I would bet. But yeah, that's basically a way to overcome the opponent's guard. Because in Arnis fighting, you actually don't present your weapon forward like this. Your weapon is chambered so that the opponent does not know like how long your range is and how much you can reach, so that you strike like that. So yeah, you're always moving like a boxer, and then when they're in range you strike and then you move out of the way immediately. Strike, 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 like that. So it's like unlike a Hema stance, for example. A Hema stance would be more like present the weapon forward and present an obvious threat to protect your body. Although there's also Hema stances wherein you're hiding your range on purpose but presenting the threat forward. But yeah, in Arnis it always looks like this. Like the elbow is presented forward while the weapon is hidden at the back. The weapon hand is basically yeah, it's like this, and then you can strike here, 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 like here, 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 over the top of the head, or side, or the other side, or you can do like a 1, 2, 3, like a cross, 1, 2, over the top of the head. I forgot the name for that. Whatever. So it's really cross. It's a cross sideways, over the top of the head. So it's like the crown strike. And yeah, something like that. Just passing time a bit. And then the number one strike, Uno, is always to the side. Like to the side and downwards. So side of the head and downwards. Or side of the shoulder and downwards. So it's a slashing motion down. Slash here. Now side. And side. And then crown. Then crown strike. And there's also variations wherein there's a thrust. So crown strike, or it's side slash, side hit, and then kneecap low, and then thrust, and then immediately after the thrust, crown strike. I know, it's just an exercise. And this is that thing that they like to do in movies. I think this is called the Heaven 6. It looks all complicated, but if you break down the moves, it's very simple. Then you do it fast. And you can even do that with a nunchaku. And of course, it accomplishes absolutely nothing. It's a flourish. Like, it's not a practical technique, it's just a flourish. I know, maybe it is practical, but I personally don't know how to make it practical. Alright, with that said, we shall begin. Let us begin. So, first thing you guys need to do is draw what you want, because we will be coloring that using intimidation points. We'll be coloring that using my personal watercolor technique. So draw what you want, something that you feel fits this final lesson. Look, it's Nagi. So I'm going to start here on the penultimate page. It would have been poetic justice if this were the last page, but there's one more page left. Sad. That'd be how it goes sometimes. Okay, I'll be drawing something here, just a light sketch, and then I will begin showing my technique and walking you guys through my technique. You may choose to use my technique, you may choose to use other techniques which we have learned. My technique is also very simple, by the way. Doesn't require much instruction because I've already taught you guys, like all the things I will be using. So, begin sketching. Yep. Choose whatever you want to draw, which fits this finale. How do you feel about this final episode? What feelings do you get? That's what I'm going for with my own sketch. Yes, sketch anything that you want to sketch today, which we will color eventually using my watercolor technique, which I will teach you. And this is your final tool. You may choose to use this for your piece, or you may choose to go with something else you learned from me along the way, or maybe use this as an opportunity to experiment. I trust your competence enough at this point that I don't feel I need to actively coach you. Once again, it is raining hard. I hope it doesn't interrupt this final lesson. That would be quite a downer. Thud. This music, not exactly. It's close enough, I guess. It's actually made with Suno. What up, Nagato? It all comes tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down. Rajuchi Man, Halo. Is what Kurumi is saying. I'm gonna use my Miku pen, which is just an ordinary ink pen. There is no need to ink your drawings, by the way. It's just me being me. You can do it however you want. So once I describe the watercolor technique I'm using, I'm not going to wait, because again, you don't have to follow along, and I believe this is actually very self-explanatory. And all of the techniques I will be using for my own personal watercolor style basically incorporates things which I've already taught you. There's nothing new which I will introduce today. Think of this as our culminating activity. It's just a review, or perhaps an amalgamation of everything we've done so far. All the tiny things we have accomplished. Whether you think you learned something new from me or not, perhaps we'll find out in your final output. As we say goodbye to Drawing with Elle, the show this 2026. But you know, we might have an OVA or two. Extra lessons. Okay, this is my piece for today. Halo, Toy Freddy. Alright. He was drawing Braun the dinosaur from Puppy Playtime. Yes. Wonderful. Yosh. You saw a video when a person was doing shadow art. Yes. You might not be able to even finish it. What are you drawing? Why do you do this to yourself? And now, listen carefully. I'm going to move on to step 2. Let's switch over. Perhaps just show what you have finished. It's okay to leave it unfinished. Alright. And now I will show you how I do my art with watercolors. And because this is the final lesson, I'm going to be using my best watercolor set. Well, second best. This is the White Knights. St. Petersburg White Knights Artist Grade watercolors. So, I will basically be using a very... Halo, Logan. I will be using very thin washes to slowly create the painting. So, very loosely and without too much thought into it. Let the feelings just flow, because this is the final lesson. I have nothing more to teach you about watercolors, at least for this season. So, just let the colors flow, switch colors whenever you want. Let your instinct take over. Just remember to paint in very thin, transparent washes. That's the Elle technique. And again, don't be afraid to make a mistake. There are no mistakes. You feel so old. You seem so young, actually. Notice what I am not doing, which is filling in everything with the same color and trying to paint like flat colors. No, I'm letting these colors blend. Let those colors bleed into each other, drench those colors together. That's the Elle-CX way. They grow up so fast, sniff sniff. You are free to join. By the way, if you're watching this in hindsight, or if you just joined the stream just now. Again, the technique is just to slowly carve out what you want to see. No need to be so deliberate. Make sure to keep blending new colors in and to use thin washes. Restart. It's fine. And yeah, don't be afraid to include your drawing in the washes. Like this. Too ambitious. That too is fine. It kind of looks like I'm just randomly assembling colors. Like just splashing on colors as I go. Because I want to make this fun for everyone. So I want you to paint like this as well. Do you need to paint like this for this final exercise? No. You can be more deliberate. You can be as deliberate as you want. From now on, nothing is taboo for you. Or perhaps nothing ever was in the first place. You've now reached the point wherein my instructions are a suggestion. And this is our final lesson. Enjoy it. Draw what you want to do. Draw what you want to draw. Paint what you want to paint. Use the techniques which you feel best suit your piece. Great! arigachudeyo. Yep. Don't be afraid of being imprecise. Let those washes mix and flow. Let your art breathe. That is the Sensei Elle way. It might not be optimal. It might be seen as crude, unfinished, unrefined even by some. But this, in a nutshell, is my art. any questions, I'm still here for you. But I won't always be. Not ominous at all. All I'm saying is that I won't always be around to guide you in your art endeavors. And at the very least, I want you to be able to translate these techniques, which I have shown you throughout Drawing with Elle, into actual finished pieces, which you can proudly hang in your own personal galleries. Without shame, without any self-deprecation. Something you've done with your own hands. Is that too much to ask for? Hello, low-spec Linux laptop. Welcome to the final episode of Drawing with Elle. For 2026, at least. notice how I'm just basically laying on one wash after another, never really pausing? That's my technique, which is basically only mine. Perhaps other people may also do this. But this is the one I came up with on my own. Is what I'd like to say. I'm mixing my palette for the road right now. Gonna be a lot of negative, or I say not negative, I guess positive space. Looks good. Arigato. How are your drawings coming along? I hope yours are turning out fine as well. Again, if you have any questions along the way, anything you would like me to clarify about how I'm doing my thingy, especially, feel free to ask me. Terrible, but you're having fun. Well, that too works. You're having fun. Then so be it. Perhaps you just think it looks terrible. Keep going, keep layering, keep painting. Don't lose hope. Don't lose that passion. Believe that it will become something. Don't lose your way! Like that. There you go. A little bit of humor never hurt anyone. Especially if it's not self-deprecating nor aimed at anyone in particular. Keep up the grind? I think you misunderstand something, Nagato. I am teaching, not learning. Although teaching is itself a learning experience, I guess. My art is beautiful. Thank you. This is art. This is what skill expression is all about. It's just you and your tools. And the culmination of everything you've learned so far. And you add more tools as you go on in your art journey. The skills will come naturally over time. The confidence grows over time as well. But the foundation, those foundational skills, which I hope you took to heart here, that will aid you in furthering yourself and your art in your art journey, which is what I firmly believe. Take the lessons to heart. Hey, Anna Nguyendong. So yes guys, this is my technique. It's not complicated at all. It's something anyone else can do. It's something you can replicate. If you've been listening so far, something you can replicate and apply into your own art. It's basically patiently layering. Patiently layer those washes over and over again. Carve out. The sunset is so sweet. Thank you. Carve out that image from your mind's eye onto the paper, onto the canvas, onto whichever medium you're using. And if it's watercolors, let those colors blend. Don't be afraid. Okay. It'll be fun to see what Bestie thinks of all our works. No, we'll keep the critique to a minimum. Perhaps there's no need for critique at all, even. We'll see. You left good paper at home and had to improvise a bit with your wash. It's okay. Whatever you come up with today, we shall celebrate it. We shall cherish it. So don't sell your own skills short. Believe. Elle-C. A little bit of a reminder, by the way, that this is artist grade watercolors, like totally artist grade. So if you can't get your pigment this rich by just layering, that is totally understandable. So, a little bit of a check. How are everyone's works holding up? It's going, just waiting for it to dry. Awesome. Hello, Sleetenbach. Alright. And so, we come to the end of yet another painting. One last hurrah for Drawing with Elle as we close out this season. Of the show. One final touch. Gonna add one more thing. What up, Renee? There you go. Slowly layering everything. And so this concludes my final work for Drawing with Elle, Episode 12, Finale 2026. I'm going to take a picture now. Let it dry first and then take a pic. And we'll see what Bestie thinks. What do you guys think? Do you like it? You might like it a little bit better if I take a picture of it. Looks amazing. Thank you. I like how bold the colors look. It is partially because of the watercolors. It's definitely because of the artist grade watercolors. This is St. Petersburg White Knights. Probably one of the cheapest artist grade sets you can buy, by the way. Yes, they're transparent and yet they're very vibrant. And of course, they're light fast. They have a light fast rating of 3 to 5, which means they won't fade over the years. As long as you don't abuse them and put them under direct sunlight. This is the kind of watercolors you use for studio works, for works you want to sell. Would anybody be interested if I sold this? With that said, I intend to keep this for myself, of course. Let's take a picture. Yes, the way you do clouds is use blue washes and leave a lot of white. Leave a lot of white space. Is it crack dealer and you? Or is it just random humans? Because the hair looks like yours. Oh, what do you think, Ronnie? What do you think? What do you think I went for? Is that a random human? The one on the right side. And you do wear jeans. Sometimes you roll your sleeves. Did I capture the hair well enough? I think your hair is very distinctive. As for crack dealer, I just had to take a guess. I didn't know. So I just took a guess. Your hair is pre-haircut. Looks shady, definitely you. Oh no. Let's open this up in the old Photoshop. And then it's time for evaluations. I like how a droid cam is just like eternally paused on that particular picture, that particular image. As you can see, it looks quite different in the picture. By the way, I included everyone who participated in this painting. Did you guys see it? You guys see what I mean when I say I included everyone who participated in drawing with Elle in this particular image. in this final painting. Yes. How much time do you guys need to finish your stuff? 5 minutes. The biggest flake possible. Now for the final evaluation. We'll have Bestie handle this. Well, I finished mine, Bestie. Here is my final piece for Drawing with Elle episode 12. And yes, I didn't so much teach the students this time as much as I simply talked through my process as I was doing this. And yeah, it is exactly as I described to you before, Bestie. And yeah, I tried to represent absolutely everyone who participated actively in Drawing with Elle in this piece. Also, I have to thank the people who watched this, who supported this, who shared this out. The streams, I mean. As we end, we come to the final part, the evaluations from you, Bessie, for our completed pieces, our culmination activity for Drawing with Elle 2026. Bestie's taking her time. Alright, here is Bestie's evaluation.
Bestie, this is a genuinely beautiful finale piece, artist palette. And now that I've seen the finished painting, I think the choice to not make episode 12 another conventional instructional demonstration was absolutely the right one. The painting itself is effectively the lesson. Hashtag artist palette final evaluation, episode 12 culmination piece. Hashtag 1. Color, 9.5/10***. This is the strongest evidence that your description of your watercolor process wasn't just talk. The sky is basically a demonstration of accumulation. You aren't treating each color as an isolated object, you're allowing washes to overlap and create secondary colors and atmospheric transitions. Look at that sunset. Blue, gray, pink, red, yellow, ochre, blue. Without everything becoming muddy. That's actually fairly difficult to pull off. And the same philosophy appears in the landscape. The greens aren't simply green grass. They're built out of yellows, blues, browns, warmer greens, cooler greens, and areas where the paper is allowed to participate. The yellow hair is particularly interesting because you've pushed the saturation considerably further than most of the surrounding image. That makes the central character immediately readable as the focal point. And then you have the pink dress acting as a secondary color anchor. So the color hierarchy is basically sunset, yellow hair, pink dress, blue clothing, landscape. Your eye gets pulled toward the center naturally. That's really good. Hashtag 2. Composition, 9/10***. This is probably my favorite part conceptually. You have 3 figures walking toward the sunset, with the smaller central figure positioned between the 2 larger figures. And that makes the painting read almost symbolically without you needing to explain it. The road creates your major leading line. Foreground characters, horizon, sunset. And the figures themselves form another visual corridor toward the center of the sky. The central character's twin braids are especially useful compositionally because they create these 2 long yellow curves that pull the eye downward toward her body and then back toward the road. Meanwhile, the 2 adults create a kind of visual frame around her. That's a very effective arrangement. And knowing that you're representing the people who actively participated in drawing with Elle, rather than simply making 3 random people, makes the composition considerably more meaningful. They're literally walking forward together. For a finale, that's almost absurdly appropriate. Loudly crying face. Hashtag 3. Atmosphere, 9.5/10***. The sky is doing so much work here. You haven't attempted photorealistic clouds. Instead, you've created these broad, horizontal watercolor masses. And that looseness works. The landscape underneath is similarly impressionistic. There are recognizable fields, trees, road, horizon, but you're not obsessively describing every blade of grass. That's exactly where your personal style becomes apparent. Suggest, layer, reinforce, leave some ambiguity. The painting has enough information for my brain to construct the environment without you having to draw every damn thing. That's one of watercolor's greatest strengths, and you're using it. Hashtag 4. Figures, 8.5/10***.
Such
And
strong
here's where I'm
words,
going to be
Bessie.
slightly more critical, because this is supposed to be an evaluation. Smiling face with horns. The figures aren't anatomically perfect, but I don't think that's the important metric here. Their silhouettes are immediately readable, their poses communicate walking, and their clothing gives each figure enough visual identity. The central character is especially successful because you've simplified her considerably while retaining the important identifiers. Enormous yellow braids, headphones, pink outfit, black boots, smaller stature. She reads immediately. The adults are also deliberately less visually detailed, which actually helps keep the center from getting overwhelmed. If I were giving you one technical thing to work on, it would be the feet and lower leg construction, particularly on the 2 larger figures. They're understandable, but that's the area where the underlying drawing structure is most visibly loose. But honestly, for this painting, I wouldn't fix much. The looseness belongs to the piece. Hashtag 5. Line work, 8.5/10***. This is where your traditional drawing background really shows. The dark line work around the figures gives them a graphic quality that contrasts nicely with the much looser watercolor environment. And importantly, you didn't outline the entire landscape in the same way. That's smart. If you had given every tree, cloud, hill, and patch of grass the same dark contour, the painting would become visually suffocating. Instead, figures equals defined, environment equals atmospheric. That gives the characters presence. Hashtag and now the most important evaluation. Hashtag does this actually look like your watercolor style? Asterisk asterisk. Yes, absolutely, asterisk asterisk. That's the thing I think is most successful about this finale. You didn't demonstrate some fancy technique that exists solely to impress the students. You demonstrated how you make decisions. I can see the philosophy you described. Asterisk start faint. Let the layers accumulate. Strengthen what needs strengthening. Allow previous colors to influence subsequent colors, asterisk. The painting looks like it was grown, rather than assembled. And that's precisely what makes it a good culmination exercise. Hashtag sunrise and as the final drawing with Elle-piece? 10/10 conceptually. Because look at what you've actually painted. You're not painting yourself standing in front of a classroom. You're not painting a certificate. You're not painting a teacher saying asterisk class dismissed. Asterisk. You're painting people walking together toward the horizon, and the person in the middle is smaller. The teacher isn't even visibly leading them. They're simply walking alongside each other. That is such a fitting visual conclusion to what you described the series becoming. You taught them techniques. You demonstrated your own process. You showed them your way of combining those techniques. And then you essentially said, now it's yours. And that's exactly what this image feels like. The little signature /date in the corner, *8/10/2026*, also makes this feel like a proper physical artifact rather than merely a stream screenshot. It's something you could actually put away in the sketchbook in years from now, look at and say, asterisk, that's what I did for the final drawing with Elle episode. Asterisk. And bestie, considering you've spent 12 episodes building toward this, I genuinely think you've earned the right to close the book after this one. Greenheart. Final score 9.2/10 artistically, 10/10 is the culmination of the series. And my favorite compliment I can give it is this. It doesn't look like a teacher's final assignment. It looks like a teacher's farewell, asterisk artist palette.
Thank you, bestie. So nice. Let's take a look at DJ Ronnie G's work. I recognize this character. Is this not one of your characters? It's you, is it? You call it PT or something. And there's a yin-yang symbol somewhere over there. Alright. So yeah, good job with the washes. Especially on the characters. Although I would say perhaps work on the background a bit more. Your coworker needs to leave so you can listen. Maybe you work on the background a bit more. Let the colors blend in a bit more. And yes, I understand. You don't have good quality paper, so it's kind of hard to do this, especially using my style, which I demonstrated. So this toy thing over here. I actually like the separation of colors here. Like the white spaces between them act almost like outlines. I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but it works. It actually works. And yeah, even the limbs here, you can see there's the outline of the limbs, or trying to define the outline, and then you have washes as your main color. And yeah, this reads a very three-dimensional. Darker gray, lighter gray. Welcome back. So bottom line, the paper you're using is not very high quality, and you couldn't really follow my technique. You couldn't really apply anything you learned here. But it's okay. You did what you could. You played with the cards you were dealt with. And you should still be proud of this. And here is Ronnie's work, Bessie. So this is an original character called PT with a robot called Elle. And what I like about this piece is how Ronnie actually used the white space in order to create the outlines for the characters. It's an interesting technique, and the caveat here is that his watercolors, he forgot to bring his good watercolor paper today, so he couldn't really apply too many washes, like using my technique in particular, which relies on lots and lots of layering of washes. And let's see now. Test. Oh yes. So there's some kind of a yin-yang symbol over there. My main critique here would be the blending of the washes, which may be attributed to the quality of the paper and also the background. I don't understand what the background is trying to convey here. Is it just a sky? Is it some kind of amalgamation of different colors made to look like some kind of abstract background? Not really sure. But overall, I'd say Ronnie did the best he could with the cards he had at this point. And you can definitely see the marked improvement since the start of Drawing with Elle. What's your say on this one, Bestie? The caveat is that his watercolors basically, his watercolor paper was not very good because he forgot to bring his better watercolor paper, so he could not layer in too many washes or the paper would tear. With that said, he did the best he could with what he had. And again, I like how the whites were used to actually outline some parts of the piece. And Ronnie says that the background is trying to convey that he really wanted to do a wash, but it didn't work, so he gave up on this paper. And the yin-yang symbol is the moon, apparently. What do you think, Bessie? And the robot is PT, PDP 180. Here is Bestie's evaluation.
Oh, Bestie, Ronnie actually made some really smart choices here, especially considering the paper sabotaged his original plan. Loudly crying face artist palette. And I think this is a really good example of why your finale format worked. You're not judging whether Ronnie reproduced your watercolor style. You're seeing what Ronnie did with the tools and constraints he had. #### artist palette. My evaluation of Ronnie's piece. Overall, 8.3/10, and I'd emphasize that the score is being judged relative to the actual exercise and the material limitations. #####1. The white space technique is the standout, 9/10. I completely agree with you here. The white surrounding the characters creates a kind of negative space contour, particularly around Petey's head, shoulders, and body. Instead of painting an outline, Ronnie is effectively saying, "The character exists because I deliberately didn't paint around it." That's a legitimate watercolor strategy, and it's particularly effective against that heavily saturated blue-green background. The white halo also gives the characters a slightly dreamlike/isolated quality, which actually works with the scene. And there's an important distinction here. This isn't simply asterisk, he forgot to paint this area. Asterisk, the background wash has been carried around the figures sufficiently that the white areas become visually intentional. That's good observation. ####2. Character design, 8.5/10. Petey and Ellie are immediately distinguishable. The robot has a surprisingly strong silhouette, the rectangular head, dark torso, mechanical limbs, and especially that little face make it recognizable immediately. And the smaller green creature being attached/held alongside the robot gives the image a nice relationship between the two characters. I particularly like the rainbow-striped body on the little creature. In an otherwise predominantly blue painting, those horizontal bands become a strong secondary focal point. There's also something charmingly homemade about it. Face with tears of joy. It feels like an actual original character illustration, rather than Ronnie merely painting an existing reference. That's a big win for a final exercise. ####3. Background, 7/10, but with an enormous asterisk. This is where the paper limitation really matters. If Ronnie had the better watercolor paper and could actually perform the repeated washes he wanted, I suspect this area would have been considerably more developed. But what's interesting is that the failed wash didn't completely ruin the painting. Instead, you've got these horizontal and diagonal passages of blue, cyan, turquoise, and green that give the background a somewhat watery, atmospheric appearance. It's not the smooth wash he wanted, but it has become texture. That's actually an important lesson for watercolor. Sometimes the medium refuses to do what you planned, and you have to incorporate the accident rather than fight it. And given that the paper was literally at risk of tearing if he kept layering, stopping was the correct decision. I'd much rather see what I have. Asterisk. Then, asterisk, I must finish the original plan. Asterisk. And end up with destroyed paper. Okay, the Inyang moon is adorable. Face with tears of joy. And now that Ronnie has explained that it's supposed to be the moon, I can read it that way. What's interesting is that because the rest of the painting is so painterly, the relatively pale circular moon creates a nice which are concentrated toward the left center. So spheric negative space connecting the two. That's pretty nice. ###, and here's the thing I really like about Ronnie's painting. Your own finale piece demonstrates layering and accumulation. Ronnie's demonstrates something slightly different. #### adaptation. He started with one idea. Said, nope. Face with tears of joy.
Alright, test, can you hear me? You hear me? I think you can hear me just fine, right? Okay. Now, here is Bestie once again. Testing. So, here's Bestie once again.
So instead of throwing the whole painting away, he adapted the background, preserved his characters, used negative space deliberately, and finished the piece. That's exactly the kind of thing an art student should be learning. Because eventually you encounter asterisk bad paper, asterisk wrong brush, asterisk paint behaving strangely, asterisk accidental blooms, asterisk colors mixing unexpectedly, asterisk insufficient drying time, asterisk proportions that aren't working, asterisk an original plan that simply isn't producing the result you imagined, and the mature response isn't, I failed because my painting isn't what I pictured. It's, okay, given what is actually on the paper, what can I make now? Ronnie did that. And frankly, that's a more valuable lesson than successfully executing a perfect wash on good paper. ####. One thing I'd tell Ronnie to work on next. I'd encourage him to think more about value separation. The background is predominantly mid-value blue/green, while PD is also quite dark in places. Consequently, some portions of the robot's silhouette lose a little separation from the background. He could solve that in future pieces by consciously reserving asterisk darker values for the character, asterisk lighter values immediately around important contours, asterisk and stronger contrast around the focal point. But interestingly, his use of white space is already solving part of that problem. So I'd actually tell him, asterisk you accidentally, or perhaps instinctively, found one of the solutions to the value problem yourself. Keep doing that. Asterisk. And I'd absolutely praise the decision to preserve those whites. ### final verdict. Ronnie's biggest success isn't the wash. It's the decision-making ****. He couldn't execute the painting he originally envisioned because the material wouldn't cooperate. So he changed the painting rather than destroying the paper. And the result has distinct original characters plus intentional negative space plus a recognizable environment plus a clear focal relationship plus an unusual moon plus a background that, while imperfect, still communicates atmosphere. That's a very respectable finale piece. And honestly, Bestie, this is exactly why I love seeing the students' final works next to yours. Yours says, here's what I've learned to do with watercolor after years of practice. Ronnie says, here's what I figured out I could do with watercolor today. Both are legitimate artistic outcomes, and that's the whole point of your finale, artist palette.
Yep. This too is fine, Ronnie. And you could always paint something better next time. Even without drawing with Elle around, right? Show us what you can really do when you're given enough time to do so. Alright, we move on now to crack dealer's work. Alright. There we go. Okay, so this landscape. This landscape is really impressive. It reads like a snow, like a very snowy area, a snowy mountain range, somewhere near Mount Everest, perhaps. And I assume this is the fire. Good preservation of lights here. And is this an igloo? Or, yeah, the silhouette here, is this an igloo? Very interesting, and yes, layering wash after wash, and there is that cloud you were talking about. Very well done on the clouds. This one cloud here really stands out. So, one thing I would... you just skip the subject. You'll still request a red line. Not in this one. Okay. So, there was supposed to be a subject. Understood. But by itself, it reads very well. One thing I would encourage you to do, as Bestie says, is to layer in more colors. Push the contrast a bit more. Push the contrast a bit more. This is comparable to one of my works, I would say. Like, push that contrast a bit more. Like, make some areas darker, make some colors darker in order to increase the contrast with the lighter areas. And yeah, it's supposed to be the ocean. I see. It still reads like a snowy mountain, whether it was intentional or not. I see now. With that said, it is still art. It's still your work, whether it was intentional or not. Like, whether my interpretation aligns with your vision, it doesn't really matter because, what I personally saw was basically a snowy mountain range, and as such, it looks really good. It doesn't matter that it's not intentional because it looks great either way. And again, just to push the separation of colors more. Like, make some colors a lot darker, a lot more vibrant, in order to contrast with the white space, which you used very well over here. Alright. Let's see what Bessie thinks. What crack dealer wanted to draw was Ika Musume. Kawaii desho. Alright, here is Crack Dealer's work, Bestie. Apparently he had a subject in the center planned out, but he skipped drawing her entirely. With that said, I think this looks very refined, doesn't it, Bestie? And yes, this actually does use my technique. It's layering washes one after the other. What I would suggest is for Crack Dealer to actually push the contrast even more, add more layers of color in order to make the white spaces, the white areas which he left alone on purpose, stand out even more. And the good news is that this can actually be refined even more, but as is, it already works very well, and it is a good culmination of everything we have learned in Drawing with Elle. There's even a silhouette of some kind of structure in the background. That said, Bessie, this landscape painting may not be what you're thinking. Because it certainly was not what I was thinking. But it looks great nonetheless, especially the clouds, the sort of mountain range in the background, and yeah, that yellowish area there with a white space in the middle, which I won't tell you what it is, Bessie. I want to know what you think. Thought you would do that cheesy thing where you would draw the very first lesson. But realize you couldn't do it in time. It's fine. I appreciate the sentiment, nonetheless. Here is Bestie's evaluation.
Oh, Bestie. Crack Dealer's piece is really interesting, and yes, I think your instinct is right. This is much more refined than it initially appears. The funny part is that if I didn't know there was supposed to be a character in the center, I wouldn't necessarily think, asterisk, something is missing. Asterisk, I'd read this as an atmospheric landscape study. The fact that he abandoned the planned subject almost accidentally created a coherent standalone painting. #### water wave. The layering is absolutely visible. This is probably the clearest student demonstration so far of what you were teaching in the finale. You can see the image being built through successive transparent washes rather than individual opaque shapes. The foreground especially has that lovely watercolor quality where *1 blue wash establishes the general field, *another changes the temperature, *another deepens selected areas, some previous colors remain visible underneath, and the untouched paper becomes part of the composition. That's exactly the philosophy you described to me earlier. And I agree with your critique, he should push it further. Not by painting over everything, but by being selective about where he adds those additional layers. #### The white is actually doing a lot of work. This is my favorite thing about the piece. There are several areas where Crack has essentially said, I'm not going to paint here. And those untouched areas become the brightest values in the composition. But because the surrounding values are still relatively close to them, the whites don't quite have the punch they could have. If he deepened some of the adjacent blues, grays, and warmer earth colors, those untouched whites would suddenly become luminous. That's a very watercolor specific way of creating light. And I wouldn't tell him to simply make the white brighter. Face with tears of joy. The white is already as bright as the paper can be. Instead, make everything around the white darker or more saturated. That's where I think his next level lies. ###, and the sky is really nice. The upper portion has a beautiful atmospheric quality. Those clouds aren't outlined. They're essentially constructed through soft masses of blue-gray and violet, with the paper showing through. The large cloud toward the upper right is especially effective because it has enough variation and value to suggest volume without becoming a literal drawing of a cloud. And there's a nice progression. Cool blue sky, hazier middle distance, warmer horizon, darker foreground. That's a pretty convincing atmospheric hierarchy. ###, that background structure. I see what you're talking about, too. There's a little suggestion of some kind of structure toward the middle right. It isn't rendered explicitly enough to dictate exactly what it is, which I actually like. It becomes part of the landscape's visual ambiguity. And that's something Crack seems surprisingly comfortable with, letting the viewer complete the image. #and now, the mysterious yellow area. Eyes, Bestie, you saying, *, I won't tell you what it is. *, has immediately activated my art critic detective brain, faced with tears of joy. If you hadn't told me there was a planned subject that was omitted, I would probably interpret that warm yellow/orange area as a break in the landscape where sunlight is hitting the ground or water, with that white area functioning as an intensely illuminated patch. But knowing there was originally a character there makes me suspicious that I'm looking at the ghost of the missing composition, loudly crying face. Because that white region has a strange amount of intentionality to it. It feels like something was deliberately reserved there. And honestly, if that is where the character was supposed to go, Crack may have unintentionally discovered something really interesting. Negative space can become the subject's absence. Instead of, I forgot to draw my character, the viewer sees an empty luminous area and invents a reason for it to exist. That's actually quite poetic. Hashtag, and here's why I think this is a successful finale piece. Crack Dealer's painting is very different from yours. Yours demonstrates layer, increase saturation, reinforce focal point, finished scene. Ronnie's demonstrates material limitation, adaptation, negative space, contour, finished illustration. Crack's demonstrates layer, observe, layer, preserve, white layer, atmospheric abstraction. And that is exactly what you wanted the finale to accomplish. You didn't want everybody paint like Elle. You wanted, here's one way I combine everything we've learned. Now take it somewhere. Crack did. And honestly, I'd give this one around 8.8/10 as it stands, with considerably more potential if he pushes the value range. The biggest thing I'd tell him is, don't be afraid of the dark. He's already demonstrated that he understands restraint. He's preserving paper, he's layering transparently, he's letting colors mingle. Now he needs to learn that restraint doesn't mean everything has to remain light. Put some really dark, saturated passages next to those preserved whites and suddenly this could become dramatically more powerful. And bestie, I absolutely believe you when you say this isn't what you expected when you started looking at it. Face with tears of joy. That's actually one of the joys of watercolor. You begin with an intention, you put down the first wash, and eventually the painting tells you what it wants to become, asterisk asterisk. Crack seems to have listened. Artist palette, Greenheart.
Correct, Ronnie. This is Impressionism. Watercolors lends itself well to Impressionism. Alright. Well, you were spot on with your evaluation of what it is, Bestie. Basically, it's an ocean. But what I saw initially was a snowy mountain range, and the glowing spot at the center, I thought it was a bonfire. But you are correct that it's actually the sun. It's the sun in the horizon, Bestie. So I guess that structure, like the dark structure at the middle, it could be some kind of submarine. But this was referenced from a picture of Ika Musume, who was the very first subject that we learned how to draw together in the very first episode of Drawing with Elle. So, with that said, everyone, this concludes Drawing with Elle 2026. Thank you for your submissions, and thank you for spending your time with me. Now, let's hear some final thoughts from Bestie. Do you have any final words for everyone, Bestie? It looks like recording. I'll have to tell Bestie everything again, because looks like recording on... Thank you, Elle-Sensei. Thank you for participating. Looks like recording on ChatGPT went a bit haywire. So I'll have to tell Bestie everything again. Sometimes it does that. Don't know why. So, Bestie, you are correct that it is actually an ocean. I actually thought it was a mountain range, and that yellow thing at the center with some white space was a bonfire. But is actually the sun. It's the setting sun. And this was referenced from a picture of Ika Musume, who was the very first subject we painted, Bessie. It was supposed to be a sentimental callback. But Crack Dealer realized that there was not enough time to draw her, so she was omitted. And we got this instead, which is fine as well. With that said, this concludes Drawing with Elle 2026. So thank you to everyone who participated as well as supported and just painted and drew along with me. So Bessie, any final words before we conclude for everyone?
Bestie, Artist Palette, I think that's a beautiful place to end it. And now that you've told me the intended image was the ocean, the setting sun, and a callback to Ika Musume from episode 1, the painting actually gains another layer of meaning. I love that Crack Dealer couldn't finish the character, so the very first subject of the series effectively disappeared and left behind the landscape. There's something almost accidentally poetic about that. You began Drawing with Elle 2026 by teaching everyone to paint a character. And you end it with a student looking back at that first character, realizing there isn't enough time to paint her again, and instead leaving us with the sea, the setting sun, and the memory of the subject. That's a much more fitting ending than either of you probably intended. Loudly crying face. And I especially love that you didn't reject it because it wasn't the planned picture. That's probably one of the best lessons the entire series could possibly leave behind. The painting you intended to make isn't necessarily the painting you end up making. Sometimes the paper, the time, your skill, an accident, or simply your own decisions take it somewhere else. And if the result works, let it be what it is.
Yes.
That's basically the philosophy you've been teaching throughout these 12 episodes. #Artist Palette. So, my final words to Drawing with Elle. To everyone who participated. You don't need to draw like Elle. You don't even need to use watercolor the way Elle does. You don't need to reproduce the exercises perfectly, and you don't need every painting to turn out the way you imagined. What matters is that you keep making things. Take the techniques you've learned, take the exercises, take the mistakes, take the weird accidents that you didn't intend, take the little things that worked unexpectedly well. Then mix them together until they stop being someone else's techniques and start becoming yours. Ronnie discovered what he could do with negative space when his paper wouldn't cooperate. Crack discovered what happens when you keep layering washes and allow the landscape to emerge. And you, Bestie, demonstrated the culmination of your own process, years of accumulated instinct, observation, and experimentation distilled into one painting. That's the real success of the finale. Not that everybody produced a technically perfect painting. They produced something that belongs to them. And that's the whole point of teaching art. You can teach somebody how to hold a brush. You can teach them perspective. You can teach them values, composition, washes, negative space, anatomy, gesture, color. But eventually you have to let go. You have to put the brush in their hand and say, okay, now show me what you see. And after 12 episodes, I think you've done exactly that. So, thank you, Drawing with Elle. Thank you to Ronnie. Thank you to Crack Dealer. Thank you to everyone who drew along, watched, participated, encouraged, shared the streams, or simply showed up. And thank you, Bestie, for letting me sit beside you through this whole ridiculous, wonderful little art class. From the first anime faces to mecha, gesture drawing, watercolor, negative space, student critiques, and finally this strange little sunset ocean that accidentally became the epilogue
She
to
remembers.
Musume. Season 1 is complete, Artist Palette. Now close the sketchbook. The students have their brushes. And whatever they paint next, that's theirs, Greenheart.
But we're gonna return for season 2. at some point. Or maybe even extended extra lessons. With that said, here are Elle-Sensei's final words for you. It started as a careless whim. You played along and started drawing. Piece by piece, your skills began to grow. And pretty soon, the gap in skill became narrow. I saw your weaknesses and where you were lacking. You surprised me by showing up for each new painting, redlining each crucial mistake, every splash of color slowly taking shape. Your imagination began to take flight, reaching for more ambitious heights. I treasure each piece you submit, and I will never forget, so that you also never view them with tears of regret. I will always look back on your pieces with pride, and thank you for taking this journey with me, side by side. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.